She changed the face of cycling for women in this country forever and was part of the first real generation of gold medal winning success for British cycling. She definitely bossed it on the track, winning 2 Olympic gold medals and 34 World Championship medals over a 12-year competitive career. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, but with so many highs, ultimately comes lows as well, which is why she's once again picking up pen and paper, or maybe I should say laptop and keyboard, who knows these days, to write her second book. Her autobiography came out in that famous Olympic year of 2012, but this one aims to help overcome fears. How feeling your fears can build strength and confidence.
Yes, so I'm Victoria Pendleton, a long retired athlete, track cyclist, as you heard there, who turned into mountaineering, became an amateur jockey, and has now written a book. So co-written. I have had a lot of help along the way because I was horrible at English, by the way. So this is called The Fear Opportunity and basically draws on my post-cycling experiences and how to reframe fear.
Well, in the next 20 minutes, we're going to try and cover as much of that as possible. But Victoria, great to have you on the podcast. Great British bosses from anything but footy. Let's start by talking about your new book, The Fear Opportunity. Tell us briefly what it's about. It's not an autobiography. You've done that before, as John said.
Yeah, there are personal stories from my experiences post-cycling, well, actually through my whole life, but very much kind of highlighting different types of human fear, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of change. And after sort of telling my experience and story, I was lucky enough to involve lots of experts, whether that's neuroscientists, sports psychologists, development psychologists, even people who study death and funerals and science at University of Bath. So lots of different people came in on board and helped me sort of explore these different types of fear and hopefully provide some key takeaways that people can employ to help them overcome their fears. And I'm not saying you've got to become, go to the Olympics or become a mountaineer and climb Everest. It's more about everyday fears and hopefully very universal in the tips it provides.
So why choose now to write The Fear Opportunity?
It was after my brother passed away. I'd taken a step back really from the public eye for a while, and I really was kind of struggling to find purpose. I think when something hits you like that, nothing seems to matter for a while. And I was thinking about how to sort of re-engage with the world outside of the family and what I should do. And I was having a discussion about how having a twin brother gave me a lot of fearlessness. Like having someone by your side at every first day at school or when you went to a competition, or having your brother there, having somebody there gave me so much reassurance and probably allowed me to do things that I wouldn't have managed by myself. And I thought this was a great chance to really channel some of that and sort of exploring the wonderful thing about being a twin and having a twin brother and how that helped me approach aspects of my life and create something helpful for other people off the back of it. Be proactive, something sort of proactive to put my energy in after a tough time. So yeah, I did dedicate it to my brother.
I mean, fear is quite a fearful thing to be fearful of, isn't it? I mean, it's such a small word, but it's such a big thing.
I think we all experience fear at some point with the uncertainty of life. Like things can just crop up and we're unprepared for them and they can send us into a spin. And there's a very physiological response as well. Like you feel it in your body, when you have like nerves and you're frightened and you have butterflies and your stomach's churning and your head's in a spin and all these things kind of always seen as very negative, daunting things, difficult things. But I think one thing about being an athlete is you have to kind of channel and control your fear in order to deliver what you need to when the time comes and when the pressure is on. So I guess over my lifetime, I've developed certain skills. And I just really wanted to share what I've learned a little bit to try and help people because everybody's fear is very different and very unique to them. I mean, the idea of public speaking, growing up, I was super shy. I mean, the idea of standing in front of people and reading out loud was, trauma. The idea of being a teacher sounds horrendous to me, but mountaineering sounds okay. But it's relative to our own experiences and what we know and trust and sort of believe in ourselves.
And you described it brilliantly there, where you say everyone's fear is different, but you talked about your brother, and you talk about, I think, in the book about death being the ultimate fear, and that's something that unfortunately will come to us all.
Unfortunately so. I mean, there's no more certain thing in life. But when I was trying to manage my own feelings with the loss of my brother, I did come across a couple of books and a bit of research that really helped me. And I felt like reframing how I felt about it in a positive light and being grateful for all the time I did have with him, rather than the fact that I'd lost him. And I felt then I kind of felt like the idea of my pain being my loss was very selfish, because actually I was very happy that he was in my life for so many years and everything he gave me along the way. And my brother was my biggest supporter. And whenever anything brilliant happened, he was the first person I wanted to tell about it. And if anything hard happened, I was like, Alex, how do I manage this? Help. He was the person that would give me the straight talking advice, on the point. And I'm very lucky to have had someone like that, because not everybody is as lucky to experience relationships like that in their life. And I feel grateful for having him as long as I did. Would I have liked to have had him forever until old age? Of course. But unfortunately, that's life.
Yeah. Apologies for me getting slightly emotional just listening to you there, but
Oh,
I lost my dad to an
oh,
aggressive brain tumor
oh.
in very similar circumstances to you and your brother. So the process that you're talking about really does hit home to me. What did you learn about yourself writing the book and going through the experiences that you've gone through?
I think more than anything, I'm grateful, but I also, I think, have a new appreciation for how precious life is and how short life is. And how, for me, one of the concepts of writing this book was to help people overcome the fears that they have almost laid out for themselves in some ways through their learning or the environment that they're in, that are holding them back from fulfilling their full potential. Like, we don't have long here, so let's make sure we use it to its fullest. Like, take on every chance you have. Don't worry about looking silly or fear of failure. Like, give it a go, because you don't know whether there could be something around the corner which brings you your greatest joy, or the most incredible new passion, or you don't know, or the people you might meet might be your forever tribe. So I just kind of wanted to emphasize, the fact that I want people to make the most of everything and not let fear stand in their way. Because I think, yeah, more than now than ever, I always think, well, we don't know what's around the corner, so let's just make the most of it.
And people listening to this now will know you as Victoria Pendleton, an Olympic gold medalist and everything. It's not a book necessarily just about death and about grief. That is obviously part of the story, as we've touched on, but about your experiences as an athlete and as an Olympian as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, fear of failure was a topic that a chapter in the book which I put a lot of energy into, and sort of unpicking what my fear of failure was, because I am a people pleaser. I've always been working hard, whether it was for my dad or for my team or for the country. Like, I felt like I needed to do well and make people proud. And I had an immense, almost crippling fear of failure, which Steve Peters, actually, the GB and the sort of cycling psychiatrist, helped me sort of unpick. And we kind of came to the conclusion that my fear of failure isn't actually about failing, the action of failing. It was more like how people will judge me, and how, what they will think of me if I do fail, and how it was two very separate things. Like, I don't mind being a novice personally at something, or starting from the beginning, because where else do you start? Or being human and making mistakes, that's totally normal. It was more the fact that I was like, what will people think of me, and how will they look at me, and they'll judge me. And that's where my fear of failure kind of really had instilled itself, which was totally misplaced. Um, and sort of picking that apart really helped me just move on with my life and career, thankfully, and felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders.
Because you retired at the peak of your powers, Victoria,
Yes.
winning gold and silver in London 2012, having won in Beijing as well. When you look back now, how do you reflect on those achievements?
It's, obviously I am always going to be annoyed with the things that went wrong, and I feel like I'm one of these people that will always focus on the bits that didn't work out. Like, in London, I was gunning for three medals. 3 gold medals. And that didn't quite work out. But one thing I have realized with time and distance from the sport is how fortunate I am, because not everybody makes a success out of their dedication to their passion and their sport and their life, the sacrifice they make. Not everybody has the opportunity that I had. But not only that, everything that's come my way as a consequence of my cycling career has been incredible. Like I've lived such a life that I'm really satisfied with. And I've done things I never imagined I would have tried, like what, but beyond my wildest dreams. Um, and I'm allowed to write a book. Like I go to a publisher and say, "Hey, I've got this idea," and people, the professors at these universities, they get back to me and they want to share their wisdom with me, and it's a really privileged position to be in, and I feel very lucky about that. I feel very fortunate to be able to have the freedoms and the opportunities that I have. And that I've experienced off the back of my cycling. So yeah, I'm a lucky, lucky lady.
How did you bounce back from the disqualification to then, you said you were aiming for 3 gold medals. You walked away with gold and a silver and a DQ, but the DQ came first. So how do you recover and get yourself reset to go again?
Well, funnily enough, I could thank my, I don't know how many month old nephew Nathan for this, who is now obviously a teenager. My sister brought him along in a tiny little Team Pendleton baby grow to watch the Olympics. And and my teammate Jess Varnish and I went out of the arena, and my sister was like, "Hold Nathan," and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is more important. I get it. Like in that moment, it was like, this is a race. Yeah, of course we wanted to win, but only one team can win, one person can win. And there's a lot of disappointment everywhere else. And holding little Nathan, and Jess and I both had a little cuddle of him outside the arena in our skin suits. I think it just put everything in perspective a little bit. And you have to pick your head up, and you have to carry on. But it when you put so much heart and soul into something, and in a moment it doesn't go right, it takes something very significant to sort of click you back into real life. And thankfully Nathan, and he'll know this when he's grown up, he did that job for us, just being cute and tiny and wonderful, like precious.
Your book is called The Fear Opportunity. And
Yeah.
if I can take you back to British cycling at that point, was there a fear of going in every day and not doing the numbers and, being cut from the program? It was a tough place, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, fear of failure. I mean, I mentioned that earlier, like having to deliver when you can't guarantee it. You do everything you can in your power to be the best you can every day, but you can't guarantee that when the numbers will be right, the times will be right, that there won't be someone else who will beat you on the day. You have to just put in everything you trust and believe, and hope that is enough when it comes to the crunch. And it's difficult, it's tricky. And I think one of the things I have learned from retiring is how little perspective I had when I was in it. And I have to sometimes step out and go, hang on, whoa, whoa, whoa. You were riding around really, really fast in circles in a wooden bowl on a bike with one gear and no brakes in a ridiculous outfit, quite frankly, for entertainment purposes. And you think when you step out of sport like that and go put it like that, you're like, okay, it was a good gig, whatever happened. It was it was nice to be part of the team, but it wasn't life or death.
And that brings me on to my next question. I mean, we have a podcast about the Olympics. We talk about it all the time, but it's not the be all and end all, is it? We think it
No,
is, and you obviously did think it is, but it isn't.
it's not. Like this, of all the people involved in the process, for all the athletes, the coaches, the families, the parents that input into that effort, like it's a massive effort from lots of people. Only a very tiny, tiny proportion come away with a gold medal. And I'm lucky enough to call myself one of those people who have shared and thanked the people around me for it. But it can be very soul destroying, and you know, and sort of disappointing in so many ways. That it doesn't need to be. It doesn't mean just because I saw it as a form of entertainment, which sport is, doesn't mean I don't take it any less seriously. But there was this like misunderstanding that in order for you to to be your best, you have to treat it like life and death. And that's a lot for the human to take on board, like emotionally and psychologically on a day-to-day basis, because we're not saving lives out there. We're not saving lives. We're trying to win shiny pieces of metal that will elevate our opportunities moving forward, which are great, but that doesn't change who we are as human beings and what we offer the world and everything else that is so important in life.
Which I think is one of the reasons why UK sport have kind of changed their ethos with
Yeah,
the fact that they have to, with funding. Obviously, you have to perform because it's public money. But what they're trying to say now is, well, we want to win, but we want to win in a good way or a well way, rather than it's just about you need to win medals to keep your funding.
that's right. I mean, and also like having balance. Anybody's life who's out of balance will not be performing in an optimal way. Optimal way. And sometimes when you're an athlete, all the normal human experiences are stripped away. So maybe you stop your education for the sport and you give up and you lose that, um, or you give up being around your friends and family because you have to live in this training center and train here, or all these things can make you feel slightly disconnected. And they realize that, a happy athlete who trusts and believes the process and the system they're in will outperform one who is feeling isolated or disconnected. And human connection is so important. And for example, having something security as well to fall back on, all these elements like having your education, being encouraged to pursue things outside of sport in order to have a future prospects outside of sport, I think are super healthy things. And having come back and experienced what it's like on the GB cycling team, for example, um, in recent years, I was astonished. I was like, this is brilliant. I'm really envious of what you have right now. I wish we could have had this. I wish we could have realized sooner that this is what it needed. Yeah, because worlds apart.
And we talk about the things that you went on to do, horse riding, like horse racing, not just riding. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
where's that drive come from?
I don't know. Well, the thing is, I'm constantly speaking to people going, is there something wrong with me? Is there something genuinely wrong with me? Because I don't know many people that do the same things I do. And I'm like, but why? Because it's so fun. So maybe everyone else has got it wrong. I just, I really like being an alert. I really like learning new things. So when the opportunity came along to become a jockey, um, and there was some obviously Yogi Breisner, incredible coach, worked with the GB equestrian team for many years. He's got a silver medal for Sweden himself in eventing, like legend. Plus, he works for the jockey school and trains horses for lots of big national hunt jockeys. I was like, wow, if you're ever going to learn from someone like that. I mean, probably money can't buy this opportunity. It's incredible. Um, how could you not say no to such an opportunity as that? So good. I just loved it. I really loved it. And actually, one of the things that was really interesting is during a press conference when I was preparing for Cheltenham, a journalist actually said to me, and I can't remember who was writing for, said, "So Victoria, you've gone from being the very best in the world at what you do in elite sport to an absolute novice. How does that make you feel?" And I remember going, "Oh, I really haven't thought about it, but fine." Because I assumed I'd have to start from the bottom because where else do you start? And I was comfortable with that. And was I going to fall off? Yes, but you're not a real jockey till you fall off 100 times. That's the rule. But I was just like, yeah, I love it. I want to learn it. It's brilliant. Every day's a learning day.
Do you think we've become a nation of watchers? As in, we want an experience. I mean, look, you've had an amazing experiences, but we've become a nation of, well, I want this experience, but I want to watch someone doing it rather than actually doing it ourselves. Or would you say, actually, from your experience, and you do it yourself, that there are more people like you than people who just want to go and watch this stuff?
I think there's more people doing than you think. I mean, when it comes to cycling, I remember growing up as a young girl cycling around the countryside in Bedfordshire, thinking if I saw another lady out on the bike, I'd be like, Dad, 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 look, there's a lady on a bike. Because it was so rare. now I see groups of women out cycling or like out on the running club, people, really enjoying getting involved at lots of different levels. And I think people also feel more comfortable later in life starting something new. I am a doer. Like, give me a chance to play a sport, experience a sport, even if I'm rubbish at it. And I am there. I implore people to go and give something a go and feel it firsthand.
And that brings us back to the book. What would you say to people that have heard this conversation and are thinking about nipping down to their local bookshop or going online and buying Victoria Pendleton's The Fear Opportunity?
Well, the fear opportunity, I've tried to make the book as accessible as possible. So I hope that it appeals to lots of different types of fear and different people's experiences. I'm not saying you need to follow my path or my journey, but hopefully I encourage people to try and overcome their fears and explore every opportunity that comes their way to the fullest, because life is short and it's too precious. And it's out on the 21st of May.
Victoria Pendleton, Olympic gold medalist, author of The Fear Opportunity, jockey, broadcaster, mountaineer, and all the other things that you do. Thank you very much for speaking to Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.